Now, it is my great pleasure to turn this meeting over to Neil Mammen, the president of VAC. Neil is a tireless supporter of freedom and liberty. He leads a wonderful organization and has accomplished many great things as the leader of VAC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Neil Mammen.
Whoa! Thank you, thank you. I want to start with the announcement you already heard about Mike Pompeo. Make sure you are here tomorrow. And second, you know, when the county said to this church that they were going to shut us down, they stuck all the COVID laws on the walls. And in response, the pastors of this church stuck the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights right next to it. We are the finest church in America because of our fines that we have. I think, here's the deal. So as a result of that, the people who shut us down are in the County Board of Supervisors, so we decided to do a recall of the County Board of Supervisors. And this is a nonpartisan recall. We're recalling the Republicans and the Democrats for shirking their duties and ignoring our rights. So, by the way, so we need volunteers and we need money. There's a table outside, and that was my recall Santa Clara hat. Now I'm going to put on my VAC hat again. Okay, now I know you're not here to hear me speak, so I won't keep you long. But it's a VAC's goal to grow and nurture activists. And as we noticed, we're doing the recall. But we also want to teach you fundamentals so you can start your own recalls and your activism. The best place to recruit people for your school county recall, your city hall recall, is at the county meetings and at the school board meetings and at the city hall meetings. Just go there and say, we are going to recall you if you want to join us, and give out a website. That's what you do, because they're not going to listen to you when you go there, are they? So might as well use that for something good. So today I want to train you on something that you might go, oh, I don't see the connection here, but I hope that it will teach you something. I want to talk about a real problem, and that is how to stop the red states from turning blue. Here's the problem. People are fleeing California because it's a mess. But then they go to red states and they vote for the same stupid things that made it a mess, right? And then they mess up those states. I mean, this is not new. Californians messed up Oregon in the 80s. Remember, they used to have signs, welcome to Oregon, now go home. Well, they didn't go home, they stayed, and now Oregon is more of a mess than California. And then they moved to Washington in the 90s, and then they moved to Colorado in the 2000s. Now, remember when Colorado was the heart of focus on the family and conservatism? Well, now it's getting liberal. And now they are focused on where? And Idaho. Within 10 to 20 years, Idaho will become liberal. It's going to take over the entire United States at this rate. How do we stop this cancer? How do we stop this disease? Well, see, here's how it happens. Well, see, what happens is once there are enough liberals, say in King County, Washington State, they start voting for their own kind. They don't even need to be a majority. They just need to be active. Why? Because the Christians stay in their churches and hide. Right? And so the active liberals, as a minority, go out and they vote and they get their kind elected to those liberal city councils and the supervisors and the board and all that. And when the liberals come to power, they do what comes natural to them. They create new programs like low-income housing, where there wasn't a huge need before. They build new high-density buildings and government assistance programs. They attract more and more of a certain kind of people to that city. These folks are there only because of the magnet programs. Now, don't get me wrong. If these folks had stayed where they were originally, they would do well, because they would become self-sufficient. They would become independent. They would do well. But they don't. They come into the city for the draw. And certain of our crowd, and I know that even my own tendency is like, hey, why don't I just give this up and go live somewhere else and get some free handouts? But they're not helping anyone. Because the more you make people dependent, the worse their lives become. And they don't thrive. But with handouts being advertised, they gravitate to these handout centers and they get stuck in a socioeconomic downward spiral. It's not their fault. And eventually these liberal counties with their magnets have enough of a population that they end up with more voting power than the rest of the entire state. And you get this. States like Washington, King County, and 8 counties own a majority of the seats in the state and assembly, and they control all other counties. They control 30 other counties. In California, the 2 major metro areas, LA and San Francisco, and the Valley, right, they control the entire state. But here's one of the root problems. You see, in most state capitals, they have an assembly and they have a Senate with a fixed number of members in each chamber. What happens is that both the state assembly and the state senate are appointed proportionally to the population of the state, right? So you get this. In California, we have the state senators of 40 total senators, 1 senator for every 931,000 people. And then they have the state assembly, which is 80 assembly members, and they represent 465,000 people. So why do we have 2 houses? It makes no sense. But here's what's the sad thing. LA County alone has 15 senators out of 40. The Bay Area and San Francisco have most of the rest that they need, and so they decide every single thing there is. And so as the state's liberal population grows in those counties, they simply end up with more assembly members and more senators than any other counties, and they take over the state Congress, and then these population centers then control and run the entire state. And since liberals attract more liberals and repel conservatives, the conservatives start to flee. It's like a disease that grows upon itself, and it never stops. But that's not the case in Washington, D.C., is it? In Washington, D.C., every state gets what? 2 senators. It doesn't matter if they're California with 37 million people or Idaho with 1.8 million people. They still get 2 senators. It was called the Great Compromise. Why? Because the smaller states said, we are not going to let the bigger states run us. We're not going to let that happen, so we're going to put these 2 guys in there, and if you guys in California do something stupid, our 2 guys in Idaho can stop that stupidity. So one day I had an idea. I said, what if, just like the states have 2 senators per state in D.C., what if there was only 1 senator per county in our state capital? And then, Ada County in Idaho, which has 500,000 people, would not be able to control the rest of Idaho. Because that county would have 1 senator only, and when that 1 senator came to say something, the other senator in one of the smaller counties said, no, that's a stupid idea, I'm going to vote against it. You see how much control that is? You see how great that is? You see how the founding fathers actually thought this through? And if we could bring it down to the county, I thought, wow, that would be so great. I thought it was a genius idea. It's not my idea. I thought it was a genius idea, and I started doing research, and then I found out for the 230 years, the founders of the state said that's the way it should be. You see, if you go back to 1960, LA County with 400,000 residents had 1 senator. Alpine County with 400 residents had 1 senator too. That's the way it used to be for 180 years of American history. This was not my idea. It wasn't a great brand new idea. It was an old, original, good idea. We've all forgotten that. The smaller counties were protected from the tyranny of mob rule. 1 county, 1 senator. But then, in 1962 and 1964, somebody complained and said it was not equal representation. And they had 3 Supreme Court cases, and the most liberal Supreme Court that we know of till that time, the same guys who later on went to go past Roe v. Wade, found a shadow of the moon, a penumbra, that said a woman had a right to privacy to kill somebody. So the justices took upon themselves to dictate that the states had to be governed like a democracy. They said it was unconstitutional. for counties to have one senator per county. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at this, Section 3 in the Constitution? It says that we should not have one man, one vote in the U.S. Senate. So how on earth could it be unconstitutional when it's in the Constitution? So here's what we need to do. We need to stop this. We need to get a conservative state like Idaho to pass a law that returns it to one senator per county. And of course, we'll get sued. They'll get sued. And it'll go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And today, I think the Supreme Court is conservative. And they have at least 2 judges that said we should not look at past rulings to determine future rulings. It's called something called stare decisis. I think it's really stupid. Why? Because it's a concept rotten to the core. If you had stare decisis today with slavery, we'd still have slavery, wouldn't we? Because there's many Supreme Court cases that say slavery was okay. So we need to change that. We can't do it in California. It might be too late for California, but we need to change it in the red state. So if you have a governor on your phone, dial him up and tell him to do that. Red state governor, just say, hey, Ron, we got to do this. Okay, that's the educational part of the program. I want to end with this because many of you are probably feeling very pessimistic about the future of our republic. So I want to leave you with some hope. You go like, Neil, how can we do all that if we're going to lose every election? Because you think Dominion and Silver Lake control all our elections, and we are doomed. So I want to give you some hope. This is not the end. This is not even the end of the beginning. It may be the beginning of the end, but there are many things we can do to turn the ship around. Here's one. What if our current red state governors, remember there are far more of us than there are of them when it comes to states. What if our current red state governors, before the next elections, before the next compromise, sent representatives to meet and write a new Declaration of Independence? And let the blue states keep their own Marxist policies. Now you say, wait, that can't happen. How? Why? Who is going to stop us? There are 393 million guns in America. You know who owns most of them? Black is good. Red is bad. Orange is worse. Second, who are the boys in the armed forces? Where do you think they come from? Kansas, Oklahoma. Where are the missiles? Do you think the missiles are in Massachusetts? No, they're in Kansas and Oklahoma. And finally, who are they going to send to stop us? The college kids who need to go hide in a safe place when you say logic, or Donald Trump? Why are we hiding? Yeah, I know, they could recruit their CCP, but let me tell you, if a single CCP soldier lands here, every single moderate will be on our side. There is hope. The time is nigh. It may not be now, but I recommend that we start assembling a convention of free states. There are a lot of things we need to fix. There are a lot of few good ideas. I'm going to give you a few as I close here. One of them is one senator per county, right? 2, no Federal Reserve. 3, term limits. 4, only paper ballots. 5, voter ID. 6, 2 words, indelible ink. And 7th, no vaccine mandates, no vaccine passports, and no vaccine immunity for Big Pharma. And let me close with this. And number 8, never, 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 ever close down our churches. Thank you.